Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe's in the house on this Wednesday evening, hot evening, and hope all is well wherever you are. And today we're going to talk about the money side of landlording. And we're all landlords. We do buy and hold properties. Let me get the folks on Instagram on the line. Just one second before we get too far, and then we can get the show on the road, as they say. Yep, Instagram's on the line. So okay, hold on. Just get this together and we should be good to go. Okay, I'm here. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the money side of landlording. Obviously, as buy and hold investors, what we're trying to do is to hopefully use or leverage real estate for financial independence, financial freedom, whatever you want to call it, and to give us the time, freedom to do what's important for us, whatever that is for you, and so on. So obviously, finance is it's really important. We have to understand the money side of this stuff, and how do you know if you're making money? How do you know that real estate is working for you? What are the strategies that you can use to get to where you want to go in terms of financially faster? And so there's so many different considerations when it comes to buy and hold or landlording that I thought it would be appropriate to have a session just focused on that. And that's the reason why we're doing it today. It's the money side of landlording. And before we get too far, as usual, if you got some questions, please put them in the chat box, and I'll be available to answer your questions about 15, 20 minutes from now. Anything to do with real estate, anything to do with investing, anything to do with landlording, anything to do with tenants, contractors, property management, whatever it is, throw them out there, and I'll try my best to answer your questions. If you want more of a deeper dive, where we can go into more detail on your specific situation, then by all means, you can book a one-on-one with me, where we'll do a more deeper delving into the issues that you're raising or problems that you're facing as it pertains to your unique situation. And so you go to my website, www.joeasimo.com, www.joeasimo.com, and then you can book a one-on-one with me. As always, we've broken up the session today into 5 parts this time, and 5 different topics and categories, and hopefully it'll make all sense to you shortly. So the money side of landlording. Have you ever looked at your rental portfolio and said, if only, why am I own all these properties, but I'm not making any money. I'm not feeling financially ahead. Looks like I'm spinning my wheels. Have you ever had that experience? I have, especially when I first started. It's a source of frustration. You're working hard on your real estate activities, but it's not working for you, and that's what I want to kind of talk about. So many landlords, we spend a lot of time searching for deals, negotiating contracts, renovating properties, screening tenants, and solving problems, only to discover that owning real estate alone does not guarantee financial freedom. It just doesn't, just by itself. Okay, the difference between investors who build lasting wealth and those who sort of constantly struggle often comes down to one critical factor, and that is how well do they manage the money behind their portfolio. The reality is that successful real estate investors investing is much about financial, it's really much a financial business as it is a property business. Again, there's a difference between a property business and a financial oriented business. Okay, so while properties generate income, yes, it's the financial management that determines whether that income translates into wealth over a period of time. Investors who understand things like cash flow, budgeting, reserves, debt management, capital expenditures, tax planning, and performance tracking are far more likely to survive market downturns like we're going through right now and capitalize on opportunities, and also able to scale their portfolio successfully. The most successful landlords rarely, have perfect properties or perfect tenants. Instead, they have systems that help them make informed decisions, manage risk, and maintain profitability. So they know their numbers, and they understand how every financial decision affects their long-term goals. Most importantly, they treat their portfolio like a business rather than a collection of properties. Again, they treat their portfolio as a business rather than just a collection of houses. And so in today's live stream, I'm going to try to explore the money side of landlording through lessons learned, through my experiences, and also conversations and research with other investors, those who've succeeded and those who've failed. And yeah, it's always good to learn from other people's experiences or other people's mistakes. So hopefully we don't have to make those mistakes. As the saying goes, a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a genius learns from other people's mistakes. So we're trying to be geniuses today and learn from other people's experiences. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and identify practical strategies that investors like you, whether you're new, intermediate, or experienced, can implement and get results. So let's break it down to 5 parts. And the first one, obviously, is going to talk about cash flow. Because obviously, for cash flow, money is all linked together. So number 1 is cash flow is king. I suppose the question is, if your rental properties, stopped appreciating tomorrow, would your cash flow alone be enough to keep you in business? If your properties didn't appreciate, do you have enough coming in to keep you in business and survive the long term? One of the biggest mistakes investors make is relying on appreciation only rather than cash flow. During strong markets, rising property values can make investors feel successful, even where their properties are producing little or no positive cash flow. You can feel, you kind of feel successful because things are moving up, the market is doing well. As I say, all something lifts all boats, all ties lift boats, or something to that effect. As a saying like that. But the problem is when market slows, or financing becomes more expensive, interest rates go higher, like what we're going through now. Many investors find out that appreciation alone cannot pay your mortgages, it can't pay your taxes, it can't pay your insurance, it can't pay your maintenance bills, it cannot take care of unexpected bills. You need money, you need cash flow. So the investors who consistently succeed over the long term tend to focus on cash flow first. Okay, they understand that positive monthly income creates the flexibility and provides you the resources needed to weather downturns. And cash flow helps investors obviously survive vacancies, handle repairs, acquire additional properties, and maintain peace of mind. Successful investors often describe cash flow as the oxygen of their portfolio. Without it, even valuable portfolios become quickly financially distressed. You can have $1 million property. If you got no money, if you're not getting cash flow and you run out of money and reserves, then it becomes very, very difficult. So the financial crisis of 2008, the Great Recession, they call it, provided countless examples of investors who own appreciating assets. They own assets that were appreciating, but lacked sufficient cash flow. Many of them were forced to sell properties at significant losses because their portfolios could not sustain themselves. By contrast, those investors who maintain strong cash flow were often able to survive a downturn and acquire additional properties at discounted prices. I think this is an important point, is that during downturns, a lot of people have hard times. People lose their jobs. Credit becomes tighter. It's hard to get, easy money is gone. Banks become a lot more, careful about who they borrow money to and the terms and conditions and things like that. It's hard. Credit gets tightened. So if you can figure a way to be able to buy during these times, there are some great opportunities, to buy during the downturns, but you got to have your act together. You got to have your financing together. You got to have your systems together. You got to have your people together and all those things. And you can get some great deals if you're ready. And just as long as you can survive the delta between the tough times and the good times. That's why the reason I do Section 8. just I know you've probably heard this before. That is the reason why I do Section 8, because it what we call caps your downside. When the market tanks, tenants lose their jobs. You may not get your money if you have regular market renters, but at least with the voucher holders, you get at least the housing, the HAP contract, or the housing authorities portion. So it's about surviving, as the saying goes. To finish first, you must first finish. To finish first, you must first finish, which means that essentially, you got to get to the end line, or the end game, or the finishing line, in order to realize the benefits of real estate. If you crash and burn before you get to the finish line, then it's all for naught, in my opinion, anyway. So many investors underestimate things like maintenance costs, vacancies, capital expenditures, management expenses when evaluating deals. The result is a portfolio that appears profitable, but on paper anyway, but struggles to survive in reality. So successful investors build conservative assumptions into their projections and prepare for unexpected expenses before they occur. So cash flow is the oxygen that's going to allow you to survive these downturns when they occur. And the biggest downturn, obviously, or cash killer, are turnover and vacancies, and unnecessary expenses, or unfortunate or unforeseen expenses, and things like that. So that's number one, cash flow. Let's go to number two, which is budgeting protects profits. Budgeting protects profits. So what do I mean by that? The question is, do you control your money, or does your money control you every time an unexpected expense appears? Do you control your money, or does your money control you every time an unexpected expense appears? Well, many landlords operate without a formal budget. I fell into that trap. We just collect rent, we pay bills as they arise, and hope there is money left over at the end of the month. Hope. Okay. While this approach may work temporarily, it often creates unnecessary stress, and financial surprises. Experienced investors, however, understand that budgeting is not about restricting spending. Instead, budgeting provides the visibility into where the money is going, your inflows and outflows, and ensures resources are available when needed. A budget helps landlords prepare things like seasonal expenses, AC, heating systems, and maintenance projects, insurance renewals, property taxes, capital improvements. It transforms financial management from reactive decision making into what I call proactive planning. Some of the most painful lessons, that I've went through is failing to sort of budget properly for major repairs, and you get these curveballs hitting you. Things like roof replacements, HVAC systems, plumbing failures, structural repairs. They rarely happens at convenient times. It always hits you when you least expect it or least want it. Investors who fail to plan for these expenses often find themselves relying on credit cards, personal loans, or emergency financing in order to get them through this thing. Successful investors, however, avoid this trap by setting aside money every month for future capital expenses, or what I call reserves. The best investors also use budget to improve decision making. What do I mean by that? Before purchasing a property, they evaluate projected income, operating expenses, financing costs, reserves, and expected returns. This process allows we, to identify weak deals before committing capital. Rather than hoping a property will perform well, they use budget to verify that the numbers support the investment objectives. So we can spend time planning, budgeting before that, before we acquire the property. And then once we purchase the property, we track and manage the funds, the inflows and outflows of the business, of the property. I know what I do now. I use AI. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with AI now, to track, to get insights into a particular property, to get insights into a portfolio, to know how you're doing, how the business is doing. If you're tracking income and expenses properly, and I have a bookkeeper that helps me with that. Then we use QuickBooks. Then we can develop the data and then feed that into AI, and then it can give us insights into how things are going. It can give some recommendations. It can give you some concerns. It can give you you can do a what if scenarios. That's what I'm using. I'm really getting into AI. I think it's the greatest thing since, well, not the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's pretty good. It's very scary, to tell the truth. But I think it's pretty good. I love it. I use what do I use? I use Claude and Anthropic for my AI modeling. I've used ChatGPT, but it wasn't that impressed. It's okay, but Claude is much better, especially when the co-work, add-on. It's very good, very very good. It's fantastic, to tell the truth. Anyway, number three, reserve funds is not an option. We need to have reserves. The question is, if your largest tenant moved out tomorrow and your HVAC system failed the following week, could your portfolio survive without borrowing money? So, if these unexpected curveballs hit you, could you survive? Well, one of the most common differences between successful and struggling landlords is the existence of adequate reserves. Okay, reserves is like a rainy day fund, money that you set aside for unknowns, unforeseen activities, expenses. So many investors understand the concept intellectually, yet surprisingly few actually maintain reserves. So they understand that, yeah, I know I need to have some money set aside for a rainy day, but how many actually do? Very, very few do, in fact, to tell you the truth. So when stuff happens, it's like struggle, and confusion, and robbing Peter to pay Paul, and so on. The result of all that is the financial stress that turns minor setbacks into major crises. Experienced investors, on the other hand, understand that surprises are going to happen, and curveballs are going to happen. Roofs eventually fail, water heaters stop working, furnaces wear out, appliances need a replacement, and these events aren't exceptions. They happen. It's just part of the business of renting properties. So the only uncertainty is, when will they occur? They will occur, but when will they occur? And what are you going to do when it does occur? I have, as I mentioned to you before, I have home warranties on all my properties. I know there's mixed results on that one, but I have it on all my properties. Now maybe I'll do a session on that alone. Investors who fail to prepare often find themselves scrambling for cash at the worst possible time. The financial damage caused by inadequate reserves extends far, far beyond the repair itself. Investors who lack cash reserves are often forced to delay necessary maintenance, creating a larger, more expensive problem. You just don't have the money. If you don't have the money, you can't do the work. And sometimes if you can't deal with a problem immediately, then it just festers and gets worse. Especially you got a tenant who's upset with you because there's something wrong that needs to be fixed, and you don't have the money to fix it. It's winter and there's no heat. Summer, there's no AC. After a while, they get kind of irritated by that, and if you're not careful, they'll leave, which means that you'll have a vacancy. And therefore, people who don't have the reserves have to, go into high interest debt, credit cards, or whatever it is, which reduces profitability and increases financial exposure and risk. So some are even forced to sell otherwise profitable properties. They have to sell it because they just can't. They don't have the liquidity needed to survive these temporary setbacks. So they just sell the asset, and because of stuff that needs to be done, they sell it for almost like fire sale prices. So successful landlords, hopefully like you and I, view reserves as investments in stability rather than an idle path of cash or pile of cash. It gives us the comfort knowing that if something happens, we have the resource to take care of it. Their reserve, funds provide the flexibility, reduces stress, and creates opportunities. During economic downturns, investors with strong reserves can often acquire properties from distressed sellers, while others are fighting simply to survive. The best deals are during the bad times. As I think it was Warren Buffett. You buy when people are selling. So you buy when people are selling, you sell when people are buying, and so on. So anyway, again, so if you got some questions, please put in the chat box, and I'll get to you in about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And if you have want to do a one-on-one with me, we do a deeper dive. Then by all means, book a one-on-one with me. Go to my website www.joeassimo.com, and we'll do it then. Number 4, debt can make you rich or make you broke. Debt can make you rich or make you broke. This is an interesting one. The question is, are you using leverage to accelerate your wealth, or is leverage quietly increasing your financial risk and exposure? Uh, Debt is one of the most powerful tools available to real estate investors. It's a wonderful tool because it allows you with a limited amount of money to buy assets that's worth quite a lot. So with 100,000, you can buy a $500,000 property. With 50,000, you can buy I don't know, $200,000 property or whatever it is. It allows you to leverage and so on. So it's a great tool to grow your portfolio, especially if you're during the growth phase of your real estate investing career. However, debt is a double-edged sword. I've seen a lot of people get wiped out because they couldn't handle the debt that they had. The market shifted, and they had vacancies. They came up with unexpected expenses. The money's not coming in. They can't implement plan A of their strategy. They can't implement that plan B of their strategy. And they're stuck financially. And then they're carrying this debt load, which has to be serviced every month. So this loan or debts have to be paid. The income is not coming in, so it drains them, it drowns them, and next thing you know, they're gone. I've seen that so many times during my career. It's not funny. People think that they're doing great during the good times. It's only during the bad times you realize, hey, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. So, as I said, inexperienced investors focus exclusively on acquiring properties and maximizing leverage, which is fine. But they assume that if one property is good, 10 highly leveraged properties, it must be better. Okay. Unfortunately, this strategy only works when everything's going according to plan. Rising vacancies, unexpected expenses, increase in interest rates, or declining rents can quickly transform aggressive leverage into a financial burden. A burden. Okay. The most successful investors, in my opinion, approach debt strategically. They understand that leverage should be used to increase cash flow, not destroy cash flow. Before taking on new financing, they stress test assumptions. They ask difficult questions. What are those difficult questions? What happens if rents decline? What happens if vacancies increase? What happens if interest rates rise? So these are sort of scenarios that during slow times you have to ask yourself, and you can stress test the purchase that the asset that you're trying to buy, or put your portfolio. And now with AI, you can run these what if scenarios a lot easier. You can plug these different scenarios into the systems, and it'll spit out. If this happens, then you may want to do that. If you need this occurs, this kind of reserves that you must have, and things like that. So by planning for adverse scenarios, we likely reduce the likelihood of financial distress. Many investors who survived multiple real estate cycles, I've gone through at least 5 or 6 of these things. I can say that I've attributed my success and my ability to survive not because I acquired more properties, but because I managed my debt levels. Okay, I understood the staying in the game often matters more than growing quickly. Just being around, just being able to survive is more important than having a 10x your portfolio, and then 5 years from now you're out. And so while highly leveraged investors occasionally achieve rapid growth. Disciplined investors frequently achieve greater long term, because they remain financially stable through changing market conditions. It's all about, your sustainability, your ability to be around, in 5, 10, 15 years ago. Fads come and go. Um, Good times will turn into bad times. Stuff happens. The question is going to be, are you going to be around to realize the benefits of real estate, like equity appreciation, debt pay down, cash flow, tax benefits, and things like that? Okay, so let's go to number 5. Scaling your numbers or prepare to guess. Scaling. Know your numbers or prepare to guess. Okay. And yeah, it's oh, is this one? I think it's this one. Yeah, scaling without financial discipline is dangerous. Scaling without financial discipline is dangerous. So the question is going to be, I don't know what's the question. The question is your next property truly moving you closer to financial freedom, or simply creating more financial complexity? Is your next property, your growth, moving you towards financial freedom, or simply creating more financial complexity? Well, many investors assume that more properties automatically lead to greater wealth. That is not true. It's not how many properties you have. That's not important. Well, it's important, but that in itself is not enough. It's how you're managing each of the properties that you have. If your goal is to make $5,000 net every month, you can get that different ways. You can get that by buying 5,000 properties, each making $1. You can get 2 properties making 2,500. You can get 5 by making, $1,000, and so forth and so on. So it's not so much, if the goal is to get X number of dollars every month, you don't. I think it's better to manage what you have. If you can manage a fewer number of prime properties, I would take that over a bunch of mediocre properties. You know, although yes, growth can increase income and net worth, it also can amplify weaknesses. Okay, so poor financial management that affects one property becomes significantly more damaging when you multiply it over several properties, 5, 10, 15, 20 properties. Okay, the most successful investors, portfolio builders, I suppose, understand that scaling requires systems. This is the point. Scaling requires system. They create standardized processes for things like budgeting, reporting, reserve management, acquisitions, financing, maintenance, tracking, and performance analysis. They track all that stuff. These systems allow them to grow without losing control of their finances. So many investors who scale successfully also understand the importance of tax planning. We work proactively with accountants and advisors to minimize tax liabilities, maximize deductions, and structure acquisitions strategically. So rather than treating taxes as an annual event, we incorporate tax planning into the overall financial strategy. Another lesson from experienced investors is the importance of balancing growth with sustainability. Some investors become obsessed with acquisitions, volume, and lose sight of profitability. That's it. They get so enamored with, I need to buy more houses, I need to buy more deals, but lose sight of, are these things profitable? Are there things that I can do to increase the profitability of each of these properties? So, we focus on strengthening operations before expanding. Over time, the second group often builds stronger portfolios because their growth was supported by solid financial foundations. Ultimately, scaling successfully requires discipline. Every acquisition should strengthen your portfolio financially rather than simply increase the number of properties that you own. Okay, so investors who maintain this focus are far more likely to achieve lasting success. And then finally, wrapping things up, 7:33. Conclusion. Yeah. So put it all together, the money side of landlording is rarely the most exciting aspects of real estate investing. It's not sexy, yet it is often the most important. Investors who spend countless hours studying markets, analyzing deals, renovating properties, and managing tenants, but many overlook the financial discipline required to transform rental properties into long-term wealth. Throughout this live stream today, I explored, the lessons learned by myself and also from other successful landlords and unsuccessful landlords alike. We kind of talked about how cash flow provides stability during uncertain times. We examine how leveraging, well, no, sorry, we examine how budgeting helps investors anticipate challenges before they become crises. We discuss the critical role reserves play in protecting portfolios from unexpected expenses. We also explored things like opportunities and dangers associated with leverage, the importance of tracking performance, and the systems required for sustainable growth. Most successful landlords are not necessarily those with the most properties. It's not. They are the ones who consistently make informed decisions, financial decisions, maintain adequate reserves, manage debt wisely, track performance diligently, and scale strategically. They understand that every dollar entering or leaving their portfolio tells a story. By paying attention to that story, they gain powerful competitive advantage. If there's one thing that emerges from this live stream, is that owning rental properties does not create wealth by itself. Financial management creates wealth. Properties are simply a vehicle which can, create wealth. It can, but it doesn't necessarily. Whether you're purchasing a first rental property or managing a substantial portfolio, mastering the money side of landlording can dramatically improve your results. So, in closing, the investors who commit to understanding their numbers, strengthening their financial systems, and learning from the successes and failures of other positions like them are far, far more profitable, and they reduce risk and also hopefully achieve long-term financial freedom. My friends, that is it for today. On the education part, I'm going to go down to the Q&A if you've got some questions. So as always, if you've got your questions, please put in the chat box. I'll definitely get to them in a few minutes. If you want to shoot me an email, you can reach me at joe@joeasamoah.com, joe@joeasamoah.com. And if you want to book a one-on-one with me, you can go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com, where we can do a deeper dive into any topic of interest to yourself. So, my friends, let's get down to the questions. What we have today. And okay, let's have a look. We have here. Hey, Phoenix. Hey, Dow too. Hope you're doing well. In sunny Phoenix, I assume. Hot, hot, hot. I'm sure it is in Phoenix. As usual, you're one of my regulars. I hope all is well at you. Hey, Dr. Joe, I have another 3-part question for you. Lots of love. I have my rental list on the affordable housing website. Okay. It's kind of interesting. I went to a seminar. No, it's a landlord town hall today. They called it, which is run by DCHA, DC Housing Authority in Washington. They held it today. I attended. So shout out to the folks down at DCHA. They're doing their best. They did a pretty good job. The senior management at DCHA, especially the folks who are running the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and really trying to educate landlords and developing partnerships with landlords for the organization. So I want to give them a little thank you and kudos, I suppose. They do. So anyway, so the point is that they had an event today. I went down there, and landlord town hall, and they had the CEO of affordable housing and also another senior management of affordable housing. They gave a presentation about how how that website works and how we can incorporate that into our into our systems. It's pretty good. So anyway, so I know you posed a question on affordable housing. I just want to say that. Okay, so let's have a look. I have rented my listed on affordablehousing.com. Okay, got it. And I have a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, which normally rents for $1,400 to $1,800 in my area. Okay, so you've got a property. It's a 3-bedroom, and it normally rents for $1,400 to $1,800 in your area. I'm not too sure which area you're in. So let's keep going. So my question to you is this: should I lower my rent on my ad to attract tenants? My pictures and ad descriptions on the site are good, but I have stiff competition in my area. Okay, got it so far. I need my property to stand out from the other landlords. I need a few tips. Their ads look good as well as mine. The affordable housing website wants landlords to pay for extra features. Okay, let me go through that one. I feel your pain. The market is soft. The rental market is soft right now. Same thing here in Washington, D.C. You know, the heyday when you could put an ad for a house for rent or apartment for rent and you'll get inundated with application, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 applications. Those days are gone. Now, it's radio silence. A lot of landlords are struggling. It's a supply and demand dynamics at play here. And I've been through this several times. So I have an idea how it shakes out. So this is my advice to you and others who are experiencing the same challenge is they've got a unit. The old way of trying to fill that unit is just not working. You're not getting traction. There's an abundance of other landlords who are also having the same challenge. During downturns, a lot of landlords they gravitate to Section 8 because the word's out that Section 8 has guaranteed income. So if they had a property and they rent to market renters, and those market renters lose their jobs, they may not get anything. But at least with voucher holders, they're going to get something. So the word's out on the street that there's this Section 8 program is not so bad at all. So what does that mean? It means that the supply of properties is increased. Now, the problem with a downturn is that they don't issue vouchers, and people don't want to move. And so the number of people looking goes down. Okay. So demand goes down, supply goes up. It's the inverse of what you really want. So in other words, you got more competition. And the only way, based on my experience, you can survive this if you got a property to rent is to differentiate your product from your competition. That's the only way. Otherwise, it becomes Tweedledee, Tweedledum. They'll look at your house and look at all the other houses. They forget about your house and so on. So how do you differentiate yourselves? And I'll keep it high level, but this is a deep dive question that you and I should have. But how do you differentiate? You have to understand what tenants look for. Put your shoes in the eyes of the tenant. The tenant now has choices. They have a lot of other landlords to choose from. If you let's just keep it simple. If you have a okay house in an okay neighborhood or an okay apartment, you're now competing with condos. These condos have, I don't know, swimming pools, dog walkers, concierge services, and you got some 2-bedroom unit in an apartment in a 4-bedroom apartment in a 4-unit apartment building. You don't your competition is blowing you out of the water because why would they come to your house when they can go to a better property somewhere else, especially because their rent's the same. So how do you compete in the market like that? You have to understand what tenants are looking for. Tenants are looking for 3 things. One, it's all about the neighborhood. Where is this property located? Is it in an area where people want to live? Most people don't know where they want to live. I'll clarify that. Most people know where they don't want to live. Okay, they have a better idea where they don't want to be, more so than where they want to be. So you've got to be in an area where people want to live. That's number one. Number two is the property itself. You got to differentiate your product from your competition. And I know what I do. I stage my homes. Okay, so they come to our home or my house. It looks like a home and not just an empty unit. We put furniture in there. We put knickknacks on the wall. We put beds and couches and all this kind of stuff. So it looks like a home. So you get a totally different reaction when you walk into these places than if it was empty. It's got to have the right amenities that people are looking for, and so on. So that's number two, is the property itself. And then number three, to differentiate yourselves, is the landlord. How can you differentiate yourself from a landlord, the other landlords out there? You got to let these people know that you're a good landlord. If something goes wrong, you're going to fix it. You're going to provide, I don't know, Mother's Day gifts, bouquets of flowers. You can talk about how long your other tenants are staying. I talk about my longest tenant is 30 years, 30 years. And I have 25-year tenants, 20-year tenants. That's not to brag. That's just to let them know that I'm a good landlord and people are happy once they move into my homes. And for voucher holders, that's music to their ears. At last, they can have stability. They can be in an area with a landlord where they can sort of set up roots. So this is how you differentiate yourself, Nesta can. It's at 3 levels. One is the location where you bought your property. Hopefully it's a desirable location, and therefore you can highlight all the amenities that the neighborhood offers: school, shopping, recreation, transportation, parks, and all those kind of different things. Good neighborhood, safe neighborhood. You can highlight those in your ad. 2 is a property. You got to sell your property, talk about all the great things it has, and word it in such a way that people want to see it. Have professional grade photographs, stage your home if you can, and then finally sell them on what kind of quality landlord you are and how you're different from your competition. So these are some of the things that I would do in your situation. And when you place your ad, find out if affordable housing is the best place to be marketing in your area. I've had a lot more success with Zillow than I have with affordable housing, but that could just be where we are. Some places, affordable housing is the place to be. In this area where I am, I do affordable housing, Zillow, and all of these other places. I do have a paid account with affordable housing, so I do have extra amenities that you don't have. I've had mixed results in terms of, is it worth it? But yeah, overall, I think it is worth it. But that's your call. It's that, I forgot how much it costs now. It's not cheap. Zillow is like, it's free, but you can also pay a little extra to get access to certain features as well. So these are, in a nutshell, Nesta Can, some of the things that you may want to consider. If you want to do a deeper dive where we can go down to specifics in your situation, we can definitely try and do that. Edie, how to 3 excellent Wealth Wednesday. Good, very informative and excellent first-hand knowledge. Yeah, I'm sharing with experience. I've been through a lot of this stuff. I've had multiple empty properties in the past, and the bills always require servicing, whether the property is empty or there's a tenant. Yeah. Bills don't stop when you have vacancies, and so that's why it's important to, well, first of all, avoid vacancies, which means that you got to have good customer relationships with your tenants. So hopefully they don't want to leave you, and so you have to be proactive in nurturing relationship with your tenants. And number 2 is try to minimize turnover if you can, because it can wipe you out. It can take 1 to 3 months lost income every time you have a turnover. Yeah, but the bills won't stop coming. It'll still keep coming. And so you got to have this, you got to have the reserves to keep you going during those lean periods. It's 108. Oh my God, 108 degrees in Phoenix. Oh my God. Jeez. Well, it's, I don't think I could survive that one. Well, I'm sure you got AC in your home where you are. That's pretty hot stuff. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up in a second. There's a World Cup game I want to watch. I think Ghana's playing tonight. So, well, playing right now, to tell you the truth. So I want to go back to that game, watch that game, and so on. So I hope that this was a good session. Let me see if there are any questions on. I've got quite a few people on Instagram. I hope you're doing good on Instagram, folks. And if you got some questions, please put them in. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. Get to the World Cup game. I'm a soccer fan, so I'm into the World Cup. Yeah, this is the time every 4 years. But we're in the US, so this is where one of the host countries. Unfortunately, they're not playing in Washington D.C. area. The nearest place we got is New York or New Jersey. I don't think I'm going to go up there. Anyway, my friends, I hope you have yourself a wonderful evening, and I will see you next Wednesday and on another Wealth Wednesday. Have a good one. Take care. Bye for now.